So y'all already know, man. There's gonna be all types of people saying all types of things about this, about the outcome of this lawsuit that Drake filed against UMG. And at the end of the day, it still confounds me as to why you continue to pursue this. But you know, here it is, man. This just compounds the L. This takes something that was not only survivable, but one could turn into something in their favor in a way if they were smart. But we're not dealing with a smart individual. It turned from that into taking it and doing a dissertation in how to make a bad situation worse for no goddamn reason. Hey, man.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Anyway, in this one, we got DJ Akademiks talking about it and talking about how the judge basically made a precedent with this case and use it as a precedent. And he said some other things that we're going to talk about and get to. So let's get right to it.
On this entire thing. This was always a weak ass lawsuit from the get-go. I like Drake. This is a weak lawsuit. It's a weak lawsuit in the fact that, again, if you listen to diss music, I listen, I don't like that there was a false allegation put against my guy. It was false. But
yeah, well, let's stop it right there. I know we just got into it, but this is a part of this narrative that doesn't seem like it's going to change, is where they conveniently and shout out to the judge for not looking at this like they wanted it to be looked at, which is isolating, not like us, and taking everything into and looking at the whole picture, which is the whole rap battle and all the songs. I will say, man, I just picture the judge, because the judge had to go through each diss track and listen, because she quoted lines from every track. Can you imagine her listening to them songs? Like, damn, okay, Drake. It sounded, you was an idol, Family Matters, but sheesh, meet the Graham, boy. You really pissed this guy off. Oh man, if I could have been a fly on the wall in her chambers when she was going through those tracks, boy. Anyway, that shit made me forget what I was saying. Oh, this this narrative, he don't like these lies being put on this guy and this and that. What about the lies that was put on the other guy? What about the reason that those quote unquote lies, because they're not really lies for real, but what about those that was put on the other guy? Because the fact of the matter is, there is circumstantial evidence that supports the assertion, at least, that Drake's like some young, as opposed to nothing existing that Kendrick did any of the things that Drake alleged. So and the judge pretty much delineated this whole thing, right, and tore down this whole argument as far as making it like Drake was the victim. This is the great thing about what this judge did. She stripped away that whole protective veil that these fans of Drake's have tried to build, like he's this victim in this battle, or he's the victim at all in this situation, like he was an unwilling participant. She stripped all that away. There's none of that. He was an active participant who got his ass kicked. Which you can just summarize everything she said into that.
Such is the case with hip hop. People call people R words. People say really nasty things about each other.
Yeah, people say you beat your girl, or people say your kid ain't yours, huh?
So the idea of suing the publisher, and I kind of look at it like in a media sense, you're suing the publisher, which, you know, at first he was going at DSP's radio and UMG. They would be the publishers of said material. I thought he should have sued Kendrick Lamar.
He shouldn't have sued nobody.
Now, what do I think about the decision? I think this was going to be a landmark precedent case. What do I think about the decision? I think this was going to be a landmark precedent of said material. I thought he should have sued DSP's radio and UMG. They would be the publishers of said material. I thought he should have sued Kendrick Lamar. Now, what do I think about the decision? I think this was going to be a landmark precedent case. And I'll give you an example. I just went to federal court.
I'm not sure about landmark, right? Well, yeah, this is the first rap. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, there's been similar cases as far as defamation goes. I don't think, but this ain't the first. But this is the first rap battle, and that's another thing about what Drake did by filing this is that you take this whole situation and put it in the courts, and now you got a situation where, for all eternity, people are going to be able to go back to this, and this is just like this just makes it even easier to clown you, even more material, right? More fodder. And you had to know this shit was going to turn out this way.
And Meg the Stallion and them, they got me in federal court. And during my deposition, they asked me a question. They said, yo, how'd you get this DNA report that you tweeted? My exact answer was, I wouldn't tell y'all even if I knew. Then I said, I don't recall. In the hearing that I went before the judge, shout out to my man Brendan Day, the Honorable Judge Brendan Day, he pointed out that while making his ruling on the order, which if you don't know his ruling is that I'm going to sit for another short deposition, but they can't ask about Drake's stake and Nicki and all the stuff. They got to keep it to this one particular subject or follow-up questions regarding it. But I'll tell you why I told you that. I told you that because this becomes landmark situations. In the motion with me, the judge made it very clear.
One thing, too, I was going to say before I forget again, Drake did all this seemingly because, he says he was devalued and lost out on money because of the song. Okay. So now Drake's such a bad gambler. Now you place your bets on this lawsuit. Not only do you lose, now you're even more devalued. And I know UMG said in that statement that they're going to continue to work with and promote Drake and do all of that. But where does this put your value at for negotiations now, Drake? You went from a situation where you could have just rolled it out, came back stronger, maybe did something to increase your value again, or maybe over the course of the time it's taking for all this to play out. And now you've made it even worse. You don't have any ammo to sit in front of UMG with and demand more money. And I was thinking, man, I said, if there was any time for Drake to put out a fucking banger ass song, it would be now. Because to kind of quell all of this, but I don't think he got it in him at this point. But yeah, you divide yourself even more. That's what this has done. So whatever you thought you should have been worth before all this, however much they told you was worth, when that happened, when you go back to the table, UMG gonna be like, well, Drake, the price of the brick just went up. We charge it a little bit more, man. You want us to keep working with you? This is what we gonna do. It's all his fault, man.
He actually went on like a 5-minute soliloquy saying, hey, Mr. Allen, what we have here in New Jersey is called a shield law that protects journalists and media companies. He says, hey, listen, I'm not making a decision that will be that any other future cases should look back at this case to see how I treated either you as a media company or newer media people that might be streamers. There's a lot of precedents. That's how court works. If one judge says this behavior results in this, usually most other judges, when queried with a similar decision, they'll make the same or the similar choice. Okay? So that's important. Now, it works opposite for Drake, because if Drake motion, well, it could have still went to trial, but what this motion definitely said is that it's not going to protect people in a rap battle from getting your feelings hurt. And had they said there was merit to this case, I would imagine that we would see much more lawsuits fly off. Because, yo, you call me fat in a diss song. You said this about my relative, or you said that about.
Yeah, and that's the other part of this, right? Is that this wasn't just about Drake and what he didn't get or how butthurt he felt. This had much larger implications. But I don't think the judge necessarily made this based on the implications per se. She made it based on law, case law. And you if you read the fucking documents, if you listened to somebody, a bunch of creators went through the whole document. Was it 38 pages, 35, something like that. But if you read it, it was very thorough, detailed. Again, you can tell that the judge listened to each diss track. There was quotes from each diss song. Notably, she quoted a lot more of Kendrick's stuff. I ain't gonna lie. And the line she quoted seemed pretty specific. I ain't saying she a Kendrick fan, but hey, she might have been after listening to all that shit. But yeah, man. So I mean, you go through all that, and you got to think that this was for a reason, for her to be so detailed and everything. And this whole case had implications beyond just a rap battle, but that's not necessarily why the judge did it. She did it based on case law. She quoted a crap ton of case law, and at the end of the day, there's nothing in any of that Drake's lawyers are going to be able to overcome on an appeal.
Damage, I need some money. And from what we could see is that the judge in this Drake situation is categorically denying and will not make it what he doesn't want to start a precedence that anybody who gets dissed. Now, I got to keep referencing Drake fans because they always lose me when I'm speaking to them with this one point, because they're always saying, nah, man, it ain't the same. Yo, that ain't the same as somebody calling you a PDF. Well, under the eyes of the law, somebody calling you fat or a PDF, while they might have different weights and values in how it could be, how both of these, insults or whatever could probably proportionately affect your career or your business. On face value, it's disrespect.
But what the judge essentially said too is that Drake should have understood what he was getting into. And not only should he have understood it, but by him actively participating, it implicitly, explicitly shows that he understands that. So it's not just whether or not you call fat or whether or not you call it a PDF. It's what's the context of the things being said. Like what happened, what's going on, where and what through what venue, so on and so forth, right? And so in this situation, and every situation is specific to its own self, right? In this situation, it was in the context of a rap battle, a very nasty rap battle, okay? That culminated in the penultimate song of Not Like Us, that basically, metaphorically, destroyed Drake and killed him. But yeah, it's more than that, man. It's more than that. So she took it all in the context of the rap battle. And so in that context, you can essentially say whatever you want. I'm not going to say whatever, but who knows? For all those who think that being called a PDF is the worst thing, if that's the worst thing, then guess what? You can say whatever you want, because if that's the worst, there's nothing else worse than that. And she essentially just told us that you can say that if you're in a rap battle, and it's not defamation. Go figure, huh?
Right? So the point is, if they allowed or they said Drake's legal battle is all the way fine, and this even goes to a trial, you don't even know what might happen there. What ends up happening is everybody's going to get sued. because you have now opened Pandora's box.
Well,
so
yeah.
I believe the judge didn't want to open Pandora's box and basically said to Drake, yo, this was this person's opinion more than it was a representation of the facts. So because of that, defamation, which requires a bunch of things, not only it requires malice, it requires malice. You got to be able to prove the damages that this deposition, oh, not deposition, this defamation has caused. And with all of those things, you could get a favorable look in a defamation case, right? But this judge stopped at this first checkpoint here and said, yo, this is opinion. Now, I disagree with it.
It's not just that, though. It's not that it's just an opinion. Yeah, she said that. It's the fact that it's a rap battle. Like, even if you look at, what was it, Cardi B and Tasha K situation? They wasn't in a rap battle. That wasn't a rap battle. You know what I'm saying? That was a whole different situation. So it's not just what he's trying to make it out to be. You gotta keep the fucking thing the thing, man. It was a rap battle. That's what the judge pointed out. That's why she went through each of the diss tracks and quoted lines out of them, because she was building the picture up to why we got to Not Like Us and Drake being called a PDF, and essentially said, it's all good because these two willingly participated in this type of sparring, verbal sparring event, where this is the goal. This is the ultimate goal, to see who can say the most outlandish, disrespectful shit possible. So it's not just as simple as he's making it seem as far as that goes. It's not about that, man. It's about the fact that they was in a rap battle and Drake tried to change the rules of a rap battle. I mean, you gotta think about that. He tried to change how all of this is perceived, is carried out, all of that. Any future rappers that get into a rap battle need to make sure they thank Kendrick now. Because he just made it to where y'all can go in. Go in. You ain't gotta walk on eggshells. You ain't gotta have what the Pusha T call it. The department that fucking check the lyrics and shit. You ain't gotta have them going through and taking out stuff. Y'all need to send Kendrick a fucking thank you card or something. You know, send Drake a thank you card. Thanks, Drake. You're getting this hashed out for us now, man. You know what I mean? Good. Thanks for falling on the sword, buddy. You know, now I know I can say whatever I want pretty much. As long as I'm in a rap battle, it's cool.
I don't believe some of these things are only just kicked as not necessarily this is my opinion and whatever. I think Kendrick kind of puts a little bit more muster in it to kind of make it look like, bro, this guy did some shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. The judge didn't agree though.
Let's not forget the videos and things like that. And the judge quoted, or not necessarily quoted, I think, but talked about Drake having that friendship with, well, yeah, she talked about the interview where Millie Bobby Brown said her and Drake had a friendship, you know, when she was a teenager and he was like 34 or some shit like that. So if Kendrick did put a little more muster on it, whatever, or a little more emphasis, like he was really saying something true, that's probably why. Again, that wasn't enough though to meet the burden or the threshold of defamation. And I think, again, the main reason is the fact that it was a rap battle. And she pointed out Drake goaded him. Gave him the ammo and tailor-made, all of that. She laid it out, man. I mean, she couldn't have did a better job as far as that goes. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this, man. Do you think that we'll get a rap battle again anytime soon, or do you think people will still be scared to battle? And I ain't talking about smack URL, nothing like that. I'm talking about like, how long do you think it will go before we get any more type of rap battles, man? I think it might be a minute. I ain't gonna lie. But y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button, hype the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.